Maybe we'll talk about other channels.
Yeah. And see if we can get them to talk about us. Look at these two dorks here in America. These guys don't know what they're doing.
All right, we should be live on YouTube. We'll have to
Hello,
edit.
everybody.
Gonna edit this part out.
Yeah, so say whatever you want now because it's going away.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to
Oh, the 28-ish?
Marklin Digital Club. It is actually 27. We're on
27.
27.
I never get it right. I never researched that before the webinar.
Yeah, I have to do it every time I edit the title. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So well, how should we start in our unscripted fireside chat without the fire?
Questions? Anybody have any questions? How about that? Let's go with something different, something new.
Anybody care to introduce themselves?
Nobody. No hands up.
No hands up. Let's get the chat window.
Yeah, nothing going on. Oh, chat window. I
Okay.
don't chat up.
Well, it's kind of a loose session today. Our topics have sort of been discussed before, I believe.
Yes, I would like to bring up the issue of plagiarism in with our newsletters. And the guilty party in this case is Curtis. Plagiarized my article from, wait, hold on, wait for it.
I can already tell this webinar is going to be useless for people who are looking for information.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely useless for everyone.
All right,
Let's
let's
see,
find out when
January,
you.
February, March, April of 2020, where I covered the topic that Curtis did in his article this month. So
Yes.
there you go.
A
Curtis,
rehash of signals.
yeah,
Well, you know,
don't try to rehash stuff.
in my defense, that
In,
was 3 years
his
ago.
defense, we don't read each other's articles because
Need
then we
I
have to
remind you,
admit to each
3 years ago? Yeah, we do not read each other's articles. I
that we
really don't
actually
care what
read
Rick
the
has to say. Yeah, right. I guess it's enough. Are we going to have to edit all this out? See, listen up, folks. You got 3 minutes of us wasting your time.
Yeah, we are wasting 3 minutes of your life next.
We do have a question from, it looks like Darius.
Darius, let's answer that when we're actually going to be not editing it out, because that's a decent question.
I'm very new to Marklin. Can I run trains from different makers on Marklin tracks controlled with the Marklin mobile station? Yes, you can.
Yes. If they are 3-rail, yes, you can set them up as normally a DCC. If they happen to be MFX compatible, then it will register itself in your mobile station. So,
Yeah, let's run. Let me run a quick guide for him as well. Yeah, as long as there's 3-rail trains, can you actually run while I set up the share screen here?
actually, we should amend that. You can run 2-rail also if your mobile station is set up to run 2-rail. Not the mobile station, but if your track connections are set for 2-rail,
Can they?
yes.
Can they do what we did with the CS3 and just have like two feed wires or two sets of feed wires, one going to 3-rail and one going to 2-rail?
Yes,
and
you
run
can.
both simultaneously?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if we could do that with them.
Yeah, you can jump it. I don't know what you're going to show with that.
Okay, so just so you know, when you load other makers' brands, so let me show you what screen you're going to be using.
Well, he's talking about a mobile station.
Oh, well, even on the mobile station, it's going to apply, right? Because he
kind
needs
of,
to at least understand.
Yes.
So when we add a locomotive, what you really need to do is you need to make sure that you set the decoder type. You'll have this option on your mobile station, whether it's going to default to DCC or MM. So MM usually is the format used for most 3-rail trains. However, you can have decoders that will be operable on a DCC format, and you can actually use those with the mobile station. But this is important because if you set this setting incorrectly and your train that you load does not operate, then you need to delete that train and reload it and change the decoder type. So this is very important. The decoder type is probably the most important thing you need to set when adding a third-party locomotive that doesn't have any MFX type setup protocol.
And two things, you cannot change a decoder type after you've loaded it. And secondly, your mobile station will not look like this screen at all, but you will have the choice of MMDCC. So
yeah, well, that was what I implied. When you load it wrong, you have to throw it away because you cannot change the decoder type once you've entered it in.
Yes.
So that should answer that question. So let's see. Chat shows disable. Did you fix that? According to us, chat should be working.
Yeah, he figured it out.
All right, thanks, Gary.
So anybody else want to raise their hand and talk if you have a microphone? It's up to you. We're winging it at the moment. I don't see anybody's hands raised, but we can always keep an eye out.
Okay.
So, you know what? I don't think. Yes, I am. No, that's not it. I was gonna say I'm not. I don't think I'm ready with the digital newsletter, but I am, because obviously I was searching for the plagiarized.
I thought you said you found
subject matter.
2023. Let's see. Marklin signals. So that was issue number 1 in 2020.
And issue number 2 in 2020, because one was on light signals, the other one was on semaphores.
Oh, you separated them.
Yeah, see, you weren't smart enough to get 2 articles out of it.
I really didn't want to wait 2 months to remember what I wrote the week before. All right, let's take a quick glance at it then. Let's see how it is so we can compare articles.
Oh my God, we are
gonna get hammered by our bosses.
I know. It's not.
Shall we share this screen?
Yeah. Let's apologize first to all these people that were just wasting their time.
Share. All right, this is volume 32, number 1 in January, February. Let's see what he wrote. Understanding Marklin signals.
See what he wrote.
Let's see what he wrote.
You can skip that.
Yeah. So yeah, he just basically so you identify the basic types, which is good. We have home signals, distance signals.
Thank you for agreeing that it's good.
Types of signal, entry signals. This is, so I'm just looking at the pictures right now because I don't like reading.
I don't blame you.
Distance signals, yard signals. Those are these little ones on the mass.
What the angle I came from with my article was, if I told people what the aspects are, and that would lead to where they would get placed on the layout.
All right. So in deference to my article, I would definitely say read yours, because you do go into detail that I just kind of glazed over. I like this. Don't foul the main line.
Well, you know what? I do got to say I learned that from Curtis, because he read it somewhere when we were building a layout from Curtis in Curtis's house. That was one of our rules: don't foul the main line. And that's the rule for shunting: don't foul the main line.
This here, folks, is him plagiarizing me, plagiarizing somebody else.
But we're not talking about that.
We'll just kind of glaze over it. This here is a distance signal for all the newcomers who really don't know anything about. This is when you cannot have a sort of like clear line of sight with your main signal.
No. Read it. Not clear line. Oh, well, a distance signal, yes, but not that extra light.
No, I'm just talking about the distance signal.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's it, huh? Pretty short. Okay. So look, for 4 pages long.
Okay, and you add the next article.
Yeah, we'll get to that. This is my article, by the way. If you want to look about, because we did have a question about macro ifs.
Yeah, if you want to go to sleep, read Curtis's article.
Yeah, because his is 4 pages and mine is like 4 to Mine is like 5 pages long, 6 pages, not too long. But you need to really kind of have a clear head if you're going to read any of my articles. So, all right, let's go to the next one here.
Next article.
Yeah, let me open it up here.
I
So that
hope this
was
is entertaining for everyone else. It is for us.
yes. All right, so here we are talking about a Rick's article on semaphores. So basic signals again, stop or go. Single mass generally is a stop or go aspect. It says right here. Double mass, you can actually have proceed slowly settings, and that's
they're not mass. It's double signal
or signals. Yeah,
double
it's written as, I think it was written as a double mass.
Double arm.
No. It was a double signal on a lattice mass. That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay, so these are, the one on the right is your yard semaphore, and you have actually 2 types of distance semaphores, which is one actually has to proceed slowly.
Yes.
Aspect on, and this is 2 pages. So add this to your 4 pages earlier. That's your 6 pages.
And there you go. I still beat you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Margin, and here's the decoder tool if you want to actually program. So this is my article here. Again, another sleeper. A lot of details or rough details. We do not get too far into depth because usually this entails you asking us questions and showing you how to actually do things, which tends to be a long webinar. Okay, so that is yours. Let's review mine now, shall we?
Okay, grab your milk and cookies and your blanket.
Let's get to the right folder here. Number 2 of this year. So this is our just released newsletter. And then we can actually go over your short article. Your article needs to be, at least so we can talk about it for other users who don't have this specific locomotive.
Well, yeah.
All right, so my article basically is into more of a in-depth for what you're looking for as far as
make yours sound more important.
You did not actually put the part numbers in there.
Oh boy, you got a whole paragraph of numbers.
Yeah, well, just they need to know if they want to order these, because I'm sure somebody will.
Yeah, because they don't have a catalog.
Also, the other thing you realize that I really didn't cover in the article was these are the 400 series of signal lights, 76, 400, 71, 72, and so forth. There are older signal lights that are the 300 series, and one of the primary differences is that the new series has their decoder addressing all into the base or the
in the head.
Yeah, the base of the no. Do these have them in the head? The newer signals have the addressing in the head. So what happened was the older ones you can program on a single base. Like
yes,
we enabled the switch on ours, so we can switch the programming mode on and off. And then once it's programmed, then we could take that head and move it somewhere else and put it on a sort of a more of a universal base. Whereas these, I believe, because I don't really have any of the newer signals personally, but I believe the addressing is set on the base itself. Right?
I don't think it's the base. I think it's in the decoder underneath.
These have a separate decoder, right?
Well, it looks the same, but the decoder is MFX now, so you can't use these masks with the
300 series.
The 300 series.
Yeah, because
I haven't actually tried moving a mask and seeing what it does, though.
Yeah, no, I think the addressing is actually stored in the base, but we might have to test that and then get back to you guys on just a note in a future newsletter. And then I actually diagram out where some placements go for the specific signal types. Now these diagrams really show the lighting heads. When you apply semaphores, it's just basically by aspects. Does it have a proceed slowly aspect, or does it have, because there is no diagram that I included about the semaphores.
There is an icon for semaphores, though.
Yeah, there are semaphore icons in the CS3. They have semaphore icons in the mobile station, I believe, right? Or are they all just signal heads?
Yeah, they're rudimentary, but there is an icon, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first half covers the these are all the different signals that they have. Um, they do have the signal lights using different mast types, I believe. Or is that what the semaphores? No, that's what the semaphores. These are all the same mast, I believe. Or no, I stand corrected. I think they have these in gray. So, well, look, it's further at the end of the end. Can't even remember what I wrote. Two types of masts for semaphores. They'll have a lattice mast, which I like, or to me, are like an old style. Then they have sort of it's a kind of a crummy detail on how that actually looks. And I didn't actually order any of these, so I don't really know what they look like. And I have basically your signals compared side by side, so you know what you're looking at on one page. Same thing with the distance signals. Oh, it's the semaphores have a gray mast instead of a green mast. So you have that as well as an option. So basically my article is about your options when selecting and what you want to purchase. And look at that. I managed to stretch this thing out for 1, 2, 3, 4 pages.
Yeah, and you had to, one paragraph was all numbers, and you had to add a whole lot of pictures. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I could have used bigger pictures, but why take up a whole page?
So, yeah, and I tried to give an understanding of what the signals do, what the aspects are telling you, so that you know where to place them. And Curtis did the same thing with his diagram there also.
Yeah, well, let's highlight one glaring difference. Yes, you basically write about where to place them, whereas I diagram it out.
Good for you. Good for you. But I also did highlight, if you go to there, you have the exit signal.
Yeah, this one here.
Okay, now you scroll up to the entry signal. Okay, entry signal has 3 aspects: green, yellow, and red. Okay, and that means basically you're taking the curve on a turnout for the green, yellow. Green is it's straight, and red is actually stop, and that's for an entry into a station or a yard, because you'll be going off the main line into a station. Let's just say station for now. So that would be an entry signal into the station.
Let's take a quick look here.
There you have them.
Sort of right there. I think I wrote, and so this is interesting here because this doesn't actually enter into the signal, but it is. No, it does require a proceed slowly.
Proceed slowly. So I mean, they call it entry, but it's almost a generic. It's for lack of a better term, because it's easier to say it needs an entry signal. And you're actually touching on what I described right there in the arrow there for signal 3 and signal 2. See a red arrow right there? That would be a station. Okay, let's say. Now, in a station, you would have, if you scroll, well, if you go to the
you want me to go to yours?
You go down. Yeah, scroll down to the exit signal. Okay, I know Curtis knows this, but why do you have an entry signal there instead of an exit signal?
According to this, it is basically because I'm not too sure why they would call it an exit signal, but the exit signal actually adds the extra aspect of switching maneuvers are allowed, which you really wouldn't have switching maneuvers here.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I highlighted in my article too. If there's no room for switching maneuvers, why would you put an exit signal there? And an entry signal should work. So you came to the same conclusion I did, which at least we're on the same page about one thing in the article that you plagiarized from me.
I let's call it a rendition to your article.
Okay. So let me share my screen.
I accidentally closed the chat window and everything, so I don't really know what's going on with the participants.
I see no chat in the I have mine open, so there's nothing going on.
Well, luckily we haven't lost any viewers yet.
Nobody is yelling at us saying
nobody's bailed on us.
So You're still sharing your screen of everyone else.
Oh yeah,
all
no,
the other
sorry. I
strange
was
stuff you're looking
checking.
at.
Let me stop that. I was checking to see if there are any questions. So
Okay, so we'll get into my article now that we've wasted plenty of your life. I gotta remember how to do this. I swear to God, I forget every time. Gotta do that. I gotta do this, and I will share. Not that. I have the wrong screen up. Sorry, people. This will take a split second here. To get the right article up, and that's not it. Here it is. Okay. Clearly, I was not prepared. Okay. So as we said, this
sorry,
is our current.
let me hang on. Let me mute up. There you go. Sorry.
All right, you good?
Yeah, I was checking our webinar for our
Okay,
Zoom channel.
and you can see the newsletter, Curtis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
So as in the past, I've done several articles about upgrading locomotives to digital. And this is one of the more difficult ones for people who have only hand tools. And you know, I often wonder why people think that an upgrade is so expensive. You know, and you obviously have the price of the decoder and the labor, but this is one that is a little bit more expensive because in the way that I do this upgrade, I have to do a little bit of machining. And in the past, I've there's the 30 3198 3189, something like that. A 3111, I think, is one also that it doesn't take a standard motor conversion because the body doesn't fit on it. And I think this is my last article, or at least last year's, where I have to drill a hole and tap it, which you can do with hand tools. You can do that one with hand tools if you're careful and you know what you're doing. This one, the way I do it, you would need a milling machine. You could kind of gouge at it with a handheld grinder, like a Dremel, but I really wouldn't recommend it for this locomotive. So if you have this locomotive, Marklin E52, EP5, there's a couple different variations of this. So bear with me here. This locomotive, what happens is for the mount for this power unit, if I can zoom in here a little bit, the mount for this powered truck, which would be, I don't know if you can see my pointer, this powered truck right here, only these two wheels are powered. They mount to the frame way back here, kind of like by this sandbox. And so when the locomotive is driving, let's say in this picture from left to right, it will want to push up this front wheel because it's mounted behind both wheels with just one screw. So I'm not saying it's a bad design. I'm just saying it looks like it was more designed for analog, and it obviously worked fine for years and years until, you know, all of a sudden digital comes along and people are wanting to convert these. So here's a picture of the frame. The hole there is the screw where the powered bogie mounts to, and the little slot there is just like an index in the powered bogie, and the wheels would be to the right in that picture. So it wants to pivot up. Now Marklin put a spring in there, and the spring mounted right where that circle is, and then it pressed up on the field coil, the AC field coil, which would push the whole truck down in the front, so it would push the front wheel down. And this is fine for analog because there was plenty of room. The problem with this locomotive is that when you change the motor, you get the smaller field magnet, which is a DC motor, and there's no place to mount this spring. It will not, it'll just sit in there and won't do anything. So many people just leave this spring out, which if you're pulling a heavy load, again, the wheels could pick up, or at least the front drive wheels could pick up. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a little cup and mount it in the motor frame, the bogie, to replace the field magnet that was there. And this is a little cardboard cutout that I made and got it to fit in there. And so I was able to transfer this cutout to a piece of brass. This is brass shim stock. It's pretty thick. I didn't measure it, but it's pretty thick. It's pretty stiff. So you can see in figure 4, I made the brass holder. Figure 5, I have it turned over, and figure 6 down here. This is basically how it mounts in there. It just slides under the field magnet. It's not screwed in. It floats, but it's captured left and right and forward and back. It can't go anywhere, so the spring would fit right in that cup. And this worked well for the older versions. And the older versions I mentioned in the article is 3366, and there is one other version. It's a brown version that comes in a set with passenger cars, but it's the same locomotive, just with a different color body. I don't remember that item number, 26 something. I don't remember what it is. So that basically, the spring mounts underneath this cup and pushes the whole bogie down, which will push this wheel down, and you get the right pressure on the wheel, on the rail, to give you good traction. So, and it's allowed to pivot up and down. It can turn left and right, and also my holder can move left and right. So there's no problem going around curves or up hills or downhills or whatnot. To make it work though, because the holder is actually a little bit bigger than the field magnet that was originally in there, I had to machine the whole area flat and make a little bit more room for my little cup holder and and the spring, because it did actually move it back a little bit. So if you look at image number 7 here, and I can zoom in a little bit on image 7, down in the lower left, you can see that there's quite a bit of material removed. Now, I didn't remove anything from this tab here except to flatten it out. I didn't really take out structural material, and I don't like doing this, but this is basically the way it was made from Marklin. So for these older models, the 3366, it worked okay. It worked well. It's still structurally sound unless it gets dropped. But again, if it gets dropped, originally you could break off that whole tab, and then you're kind of SOL, because you won't have a place to mount your motor. So I got a newer version of this model, and I didn't know that they had made design changes. And what they did was they made a design change where there's a whole lot less material in there. And I don't have a picture of the original frame, unfortunately. So what I did was I took off the sides of my holder and put a screw in the top. I drilled a hole and tapped some threads and put a screw in the top to capture the spring. The tail of it still slid underneath the permanent magnet, and it floated left and right. So that was still good. And the spring would get held by the screw, although there wasn't enough material in this, enough thickness in this material to hold a thread. So the screw basically it was basically just going through a hole. It could pop out at any time with a good vibration or so, and then the spring would probably pop out and the whole thing would just not work. Back to the drawing board, version 3, as I call it, instead of a screw going through, I was able to just dimple the top of the holder to hold the spring. And you can see in figure 12 here, it actually worked out really well. It held the spring, it can still move left and right. The spring is captured by the frame in the back, even though you can't, it's not installed in the frame right now. You can basically see how it mounts once it's in the frame. The frame will go at the bottom of this spring. It seemed to be the best solution for this problem that I have. Now, I did still mill out some of the frame, but I only milled out a little bit. All I did was mill it out to make it flat, because this new frame, you can see it has a couple of slots here. And that was for, I get into this later, that was for a holder for the spring. What I did here was only give myself a little bit of room in the back, basically flattening it out and removing a little shelf here so the spring could have full range of motion, going around turns and whatnot. So because they have these holes here, I couldn't mill out as much as I did originally for the older model frame, because it would leave almost nothing holding the motor in. And so I had to come up with a different version of my holder to actually work with this. You can see in figure 14, that's where the placement of the holder goes. It gets held in by the motor, just like up here. And it seemed to work out great. This is like the best solution I came up with, and it's much easier to make this little part also. The next problem I had was there was no place to mount the circuit board, mounting the circuit board holder here. There is a hole here next to a speaker, because they did come out with a version of this that had sound. There is a hole right here, but I couldn't mount this holder going to the left because it would interfere with the motor. I couldn't mount it to the right because there was enough room, but then the wires were backwards, and I just didn't like that solution. So it seems how I already had, basically my tools out. All I did was drill and tap a hole here in figure 15, so I could place it where I wanted. I could have glued it in. I just didn't want to. It was just, it seems like after I went through all this work to make this whole thing look good, to glue in this plastic holder would, look very unprofessional. Once that was in there and mounted, this is what the whole thing looked like when it was finished. And then, because I was curious how this worked, once I discovered that there was a newer version of this, I did a search in my inventory, and I actually have one of these, which is the first picture here in gray. I have this version. It's a 36 something, I forget what, but it's a gray version, which is probably why I bought it. I love the gray locomotives. So this has the newer version, the newer frame and the newer holder. So in the newer version of this frame, these two holes here held the spring, but they hold the spring horizontally. So instead of the spring being vertical, like in my definition here, the spring is horizontal, and that holder held the spring down, and it pushed against the permanent magnet, which pushed down on the front wheel. The problem that I found was that part number that spans across into these two holes, there is no part number. It's not even in the diagram, the parts diagram. I found a part number for the spring, but not a part number for this holder. And so until I find a part number, I'm just going to continue to do this my way with the little holder, and everything should be fine. Unfortunately, I may never find a part number. I could probably ask the factory, but I don't really see the need to right now. And that's basically it. We get into let's see, yeah, once I found my locomotive, I could see how they did the did that little holder. I could probably have one 3D printed. I could probably lean on Curtis to 3D print one. But you know, that's going to take time and his time, and I don't really want to waste his time with that. So that's basically it. Let me see if we have any questions here regarding this. I have to open up some windows here again because I was in share screen mode and I don't see any questions. Are there any questions on this part of our newsletter from anyone? Anybody want to raise their hand, talk about it? So that's about it. Now we can, I can figure out how to stop sharing here. Share. Yeah, that's it. That was my solution for this particular locomotive conversion. If anybody wants to attempt it, I'm here to help, but I could even send you a scan of my cardboard cutout to cut out a dish for the whole spring, whatever you want to do. So now we can move on to Curtis's plagiarized article.
I think we've already covered that.
I think we've already covered it. Okay.
Thanks for that riveting explanation of the extra work that you put into doing it.
Machining, not riveting, machining. Riveting is a whole other process.
I was describing your topic. So we did have a question regarding the 7300 series signal lights. I did answer somewhat in text, but let me just kind of show what that's all about. The 76300 series of signal lights actually came with this decoder.
Take it out.
Yeah. You pull it out so you can actually see it. Now there are some issues that we've had with those. So as you can see up closely, there are no any kind of dip switch settings. Is that in focus?
No, it focuses on your face instead of
let me get my face out of the way then. How's that? Is that
that'd probably be helpful.
Anything to ruin my face. Okay, let me see. So you can see there are no dip switch settings here.
Yes.
So how these basically got programmed is you needed to, the signals themselves came with a sort of a clip that was inserted through these holes. And on the surface side, you can see there's a couple of contact pads here. So what I did was we basically threw a switch in there because I used this base, and I just soldered some wires here that I could have a flippable switch so I could turn it into a programming mode or just switch it off without having to remove the clip constantly. I wish I had the clip, but I have them stored in another container somewhere. I don't know where that is.
I have a whole bunch of them, but
yeah, it just looked like a cardboard sleeve with a wire in the middle.
Yeah.
So these can be updated. They would have to be sent to Germany for reprogramming.
I don't know if they still do that, but
I did check with them. I think they were still doing it. I was trying to find a way to get it so that we can program them here out in the States.
But yeah, not from what I saw at the factory. That's not something we can.
Yeah, so it's not kind of happening right now. And some of the limitations with the outdated ones is, and I kind of ran into this problem in our layout because once I had a certain limit of these, then they started to, some of them would have intermittent issues where it wouldn't function or switch the signal light. So that's when the reprogramming was necessary so that you can actually enable more than 10 or something.
I think it was like 10 to the minimum was 10, but I think we got around 15 or 18.
Yeah, the other issue that they kind of had was these runs, they actually had sort of brittle wiring. And so constantly there are times like if you flex them or went underneath to adjust things a lot, you might lose these wires here.
Yeah.
Um, this one is for the distance signal, but they would just kind of get broken off because the wires that they use were kind of brittle at that point. It's like they were nickel wires or something like that. Um, but if you have further questions on that, just send them us. I do have some old manuals on there, but the biggest thing that I liked is uh, you could program using the same chip. Like I said, I wired a switch to one of my bases. So all I had to do is swap out the heads and I could program it, and then I could move the mast to another location. So that was kind of handy. Um, but yeah, if there's any questions on that, it's weird. In order to program these with an address, you had to first set it up in your controller, and in order to give this an address, you would activate that switch with the clip on, and then it would assign that position in the CS2, which is
When it was in program mode, remember it would flash?
yeah, it would go into program mode once the clip was on, it would flash.
And you
And
gave
then
it
when you
power. Yeah.
activate the signal on the central station 2,
Mhm.
it would actually send that address to the base. Haven't really done it with any CS3s. The newer ones are kind of easier to actually program than these were. But there you go. That's the 300 series. I don't really
At
know
the
what
time, those things were, very advanced and very beautiful signals. I mean, they
oh,
were things to have.
they still are. And one of the main differences between the 300 series, or at least one of the newer features on the 400 series, is you can actually control certain movements. It's written in my article. Um, it probably is written in Rick's article. I don't know if he wrote about that, but you can actually set CV values based on how you want the signals to change. Like, do you want the lights to go off before it changes the aspect and turn it back on, or do you want them to crossfade, sort of as one goes out, the other one comes on? These did not have any kind of CV controls, as far as I remember, anyways. So, but there you go. That's the 300 series signals. Just thought I'd pull that out in case people were actually interested.
And there were no semaphores for that series signals.
Yeah, they didn't have semaphores with this series, and it really just got mounted onto this covering, and you would screw mount this covering wherever you wanted to. And this is where you sort of have that problem with the wires being brittle, because if you had to remove these covers and pop it off the base to get the programming board in there, eventually you're just going to flex these things enough where they'll just snap off, and then they'd have to be resoldered. Which
So the prongs that hold it into that cover
yeah,
on straight C tracks, there's 4 prongs, and you could mount those underneath the C track.
yeah. So you can see the little holes there here.
Yeah. So you could.
I don't think I ever really did that.
No, we never did that. But they, if you look in the instructions, they mention that.
Well, because when you have bench work and stuff like that, you really don't want to have these under your C track, because then you got to lift the track up if you need
Right
to.
here.
Yeah.
Here's C track, and here's the 4 prongs.
Well, you're not sharing your screen, so.
What do you mean I'm not sharing? You're just looking at you.
Oh, that's right. I thought I was sharing. Yeah, those 4 prongs.
Yeah, that's for those decoders. Even now for the newer decoders, I think those are still for those.
To me, that's kind of only practical if you like taking the layout off the floor or something like that, or a table. Once you have it, like you're screwing your track down, do you really want to take your?
Well, yeah, you don't want to. Well, yeah, that's more for a portable layout type thing. And if you think about it, that's one thing that was really innovative about C-Track is you could mount not only your signal decoders, but your turnout decoders, your turnout lanterns, all that stuff being self-contained, and just pick everything up and, put it away.
That has its features, I guess, if you're constantly like tinkering with your layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know how many people have done that, but
It's hard to do that when you have a staging yard.
Yeah.
I got to pull this thing apart again.
All these S88 wires.
Plus, you got to make sure you remember what address is. Otherwise, you got stray switches going on.
Yeah. Okay, so you're probably not ready, but let's do. Look what I got.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. It shows that you. I don't think I've pulled anything out. So.
No. Remember these? Remember how I showed you this before?
Yeah, like these.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Except mine were missing the two little ladders right there. See that on one car, the ladder was missing,
right?
little steps. And
They do that to you on purpose, you know.
I contacted my favorite representative here in the U.S., Stacy, and said, "Hey, I'm missing ladders. So look, I got ladders now." Yeah.
Oh, look, mine came with ladders. At least on this
Mine
side.
didn't come with ladders. Now I don't know how many people know this, and I don't think I'm giving away any secrets here, but do you know why they created these? Did you hear the story about these?
No.
This
Do
set?
regale us with your information.
Yes, because I'm just a wealth of useless knowledge. So
Your wealth of plagiarism.
what happened was when Marklin came out with the big boy, and then they came out with the car set, the UP car, the passenger car set for it. In reality, when they run the big boy, they run these tankers behind it. One, I believe, one for oil, one for water. I could be mistaken. I forget what's in them, but it's fuel for the steam locomotive. And Marklin didn't actually come out with any of those. So what I believe it was a magazine in Europe, they made these, they took some artwork and they made these fictitious tank cars. Okay. And so it came out as an April Fool's joke a couple of years ago. And so Marklin said, "Oh, okay, well, we're going to make it real, so it's not an April Fool's joke." And so they did. And basically that's why, and I haven't heard anything bad about these things yet, but if you look at these are on European frames with buffers.
Well, yeah, I mean, aren't these European style tank cars?
Exactly, because that's the way it was, I believe, in the magazine article, not the article, but the advertisement.
Oh.
So it was an April Fool's joke that Marklin said, "Hey, April Fool's on you. We're actually going to do it now."
So Marklin's been exposed.
Yes, that's why they did it. So
who says
anyway,
they don't have a sense of humor?
Yeah. So the look what I got, we don't get, people think that we get like everything. Yeah, it'd be nice to order, everything that Marklin comes out with as a factory sample. Oh, that'd be great, but we can't do that. But so what I got, Austrian boxcar set. That's the look what I got from this issue of the online webinar. That's all I can say. Besides, we don't order everything, and we don't get it any faster than anyone else. So I don't know when those were issued, but I got those since the last webinar.
And I think the last thing I got was the double-decker passenger cars. Finally, I got those.
Yeah, the IC passenger car.
Yeah, the white ones.
I think you showed that last time, but you just got an extra car.
I just showed the one car that I got, which was the N car. I don't know that I got the rest of them. I can go round them up if you want to distract them. A little hocus pocus, block my video.
Well, I'll talk about. Remember this, Curtis? Yeah. My picture on the boxcar.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go. So we were at the Denver Rocky Mountain Train Show not this last weekend, the weekend before, and I brought this car to run. Even though I didn't get a chance to run it, I did have it on display on the on our test layout. So not our test layout, our show demo layout. So a couple of people did recognize me in the picture, and I thought that was pretty cool. But we go to a lot of shows, and we see the same vendors. We see the other train vendors, manufacturers, and they're all good guys, and we have occasionally hung out with them. And just as a funny anecdote, I had this out on the layout, and one of the other manufacturers came up. The guy's name is Rich. Nice guy, love him to death. And he says that this is the ugliest boxcar he has ever seen.
Well, I disagree with him. I think it's a really nice boxcar. It's just the ugly image on it. That's what disturbs me.
The boxcar itself is fine.
The art, I don't know who chose that art, but yeah, it's just I almost gag when I pull mine out.
But I knew you'd get a kick out of that. So
Yeah, that's hilarious. And yeah, so this is just a continuation of receiving more of those.
Yeah.
Now I have a 4-car set, which will be nice to throw on the layout.
Nice. Now that's not the end car, is it?
No, not this one. I have, just pulled a couple of out. They just sent me a fourth one the other day.
Yeah.
So
nice. That'll look good, especially with that white 103.
Yeah. And I don't know if I showed these last time. So this was the Insider Club car. Did we show the Insider car?
The Insider locomotive. What is it? Oh, yeah. I didn't order that. So.
I think you said you didn't order that.
No.
It's tight sleeves. I always think that they wrap these things up. You want to think that the sleeves are warm, and then they shrink. Sorry, excuse the glare. I got this window that's open here.
Go ahead and take it out.
Yeah, I'll pull it out. And then I have one other locomotive. So.
Because I haven't actually seen that locomotive yet in person.
Yeah, I always think they wrap these things when they, because when they're molding or when they're folding these things up, they're warm, and then they get cooled off, and then they get really hard to take off. That's really well wrapped. So delicately pull off the felt. Okay. So
there you go. Yeah, that's a nice one.
There's some nice details on it.
Yeah, I liked it when I saw it in the catalog, but
little.
I was
these look like radiators, right?
Yeah, I was close to or over budget, so I couldn't pull the trigger on that one.
So that I can show the next one. We do have an LGB question. Should we look at that one while
let me see.
Get this thing wrapped up. It says I have an LGB 24772 Sugar Company Porter with MFX.
Yeah, that's a little Porter. I love that locomotive. I couldn't afford one of those either. Back EMF. It has to be in the CV somewhere. I'm not sure you actually want to turn it off though. Issues with a string of sugarcane cars pulling smoothly. So is it pulling smoothly? Is it starting? Is it when the locomotive starts, or when the locomotive stops, or when it's actually running? Because it could be maybe the motor is well loved and worn out.
Can you explain what back EMF is?
Pulses while pulling, he says. From what I understand, the back EMF, I don't understand it.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I forget what it means.
Okay, as far as I know, what back EMF is you have electromotive forces that basically, how do I describe?
Yeah,
you have like two pole magnets this way, right? They're sort of like this. Think of like I don't know what analogy is, but essentially what happens is you have a rotating arm, and the electromotive forces pull that arm towards it, and then it releases it so that the arm can sort of coast to the next one. But you basically have two sort of things like that where it needs to be synchronized so that you have a constant pull.
So it's not pulling it back.
Yeah. So if you have back EMF, what happens is the motor needs to sort of at this point be released magnetically, but if it doesn't, and the magnet is still on, it may pull the motor backwards, and that's what back EMF sort of
Yeah.
does.
That's what I couldn't explain.
There may be better explanations, but that's sort of the gist of it. I don't claim to be an educator, so I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, that can be adjusted in the CVs, and I think it's more of adjustment rather than turning it off. I don't remember what CV number it is. It's in the 50s, I believe. And in the CVs, there might even be it might even say back EMF. I would have to look, but I'm not going to do it right now. You can email us and definitely digital@marklin.com, and we can do a little research and try and come up with a resolution for you for that.
Yeah. So I got somebody, I think you referred to me as Gail.
Yeah, because when you respond, even though your name has changed, we're using
It doesn't change in the text.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the other locomotive that I got, and I don't recall if I showed it earlier. There's the box icon right there.
Oh, the NS. Yeah, that paint scheme is great.
Netherlands locomotive, and I'll pull that up for you guys. Some people like it when we show locomotives. As I get my fingerprints. See, I don't grab my locomotives with white gloves. There you go. Netherlands locomotive. Modern.
There's a splash of color for your layout.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it looks slick.
They have 4 pantographs.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what is it that's known as intermodal power? Is that
yeah, it can go everywhere.
Yeah. Except for out here. I don't know. Who knows what our system is running? Yeah,
you're not even electrified yet, are you there?
It's not. You haven't been up for well. I think we talked about it last time. Though they have the catenary masts
right
up on the line that goes up where I live, which is from San Jose to San Francisco, and they have the catenary masts up, but they haven't done the wiring yet. I think there's a section down there in the South Bay where they're actually testing the new locomotives. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I don't know if it's any more quieter. They still blow their horns when they're in the residential areas. So
well, this way the locomotives can sneak up on people.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so
did you read Gary Adams?
Yeah, we can get rid of that. Doesn't require an answer really, so
right.
Okay. Do any of you folks have any questions or would like to comment on anything?
You want to yell at us for wasting your life?
Yeah.
For free?
No criticisms about our performance? We have had those, by the way.
Oh, I will say I'm supporting our new ETE SoCal shirt.
Yeah, I get the sort of the latest short sleeve Marklin shirt that I got.
Yeah, I'll probably get in trouble for not wearing that because it's brand new, but I awarded it.
They just add it to the list of the other stuff we'll get in trouble for sitting.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, we don't do anything halfway. We're committed to being a travesty. All right. Well, if you guys have anything that you'd like to ask or comment on, it's if that new user is still online, we welcome you. But yeah.
Otherwise, I think we've come to the end.
We appreciate you joining us. Feel free to send any questions you have to digital@marklin.com. We may have suggestions for newsletters. I mean, it might be smart for us to actually talk about the older signals for those of you lost manuals. I know we do have some folks who buy older equipment, but personally, I'm not averse to talking about that, but we do try to cover more recent equipment stuff for you
Our,
folks.
yeah, our inventory and our availability of manuals may be limited on the older stuff, but we try to find the answers anyway.
Yeah, I have a number of those old 300 series. I transitioned over to Semaphores, but surprisingly, with the new layout design that I had, uh, I've only needed like 2 signals. Yeah, there's no point in putting. Listen, there's no point in putting signals in a hidden staging yard.
I still want to convert the show test layout that I made to the CS3. And that thing has like 11 signals on it. Only 2 of them are semaphores. So do I change over to the newer signals? Do I even keep the layout? You know, should I tear it apart? What should I do to it?
Actually, that's a good question. Can you take the mast off the old signals?
No,
Off the new signals?
they don't work. Well, yeah, you can, I think.
Do they? Are they? Because there was always like a little bit of connectivity issues. Can you take that mast off the new signals?
I can grab one and answer that question if you want right now.
Uh, it will only extend our time by 5 minutes.
We can research that later.
Yeah. Maybe what we'll do in our next webinar is we should do a live adaptation of the test layout
What do
under
you
the
mean?
CS3. What do you think?
Live adaptation? Well, we can talk about that later. We don't
Yeah.
need to.
Anyways, yeah, I think we've taken up enough time. We really appreciate you guys joining us. Sign up for the digital club if you haven't. Obviously, there's no plugs for signing up and subscribing to the webinar channel, but feel free to do so. That would be great. Always welcome you guys joining us, and enjoy the rest of your year. We'll see you in a couple months.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
What, the ending?
Yeah.
We're still
You
on.
want to try it again? We can edit it out. We want to start the webinar all over because you screwed up the end?
Yeah, it's all loose and free. Okay. I think we're done.
All right, everyone.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, bye.
See you in a couple months.